I'm your host, Jessica Mornan, and this is Inside and Out. So, just dropping stuff, and I'm not editing it. I'm an author and horticultural therapy practitioner, and with my company, Basker, I help people and businesses use nature and gardening for health, creativity, and social well-being. I'm very excited about today's guest, Allison Taylor, but before we get to her, one little note, or a big one. It's already started. The Cyber Monday, Black Friday sale emails, and neither thing has happened yet. And I get it because brands are wanting to get in front of it because with Substack, there's just so many emails now. So I'm going to do that too and share what I'm offering here in case my email doesn't get you in time or you don't feel like opening it. Now until December 1st, I'm offering $50 off either learning to grow cut flowers or starting a well-being garden. Both can be virtual or in person. And the learning to grow cut flowers is definitely a little bit more intensive, learning to grow from seed. And then how to start a well-being garden is learning how to start a garden with plants either bought from a local nursery or online. And when I say the word garden, this does not have to be a giant thing. It can be pots on a balcony. It can be pots on your doorstep. It can be on the tiniest little patch of grass that you have. Or if you don't have that, maybe you do this with a friend. Social well-being is a huge part of the benefits of connecting with nature. And $50 is a lot off. And I thought about it a lot, but I don't think that you understand how much I want people to connect with nature and learn to grow and start these, even if it's a baby garden, the benefits are just too good to not try. So no green thumb or experience necessary. In fact, all of my clients are super beginners, and to see what they have created, I actually cry anytime I look at an email or visit one of their gardens. So $50 off with the code GROW, GROW. You can go to baskergardens.com and you can click on the thing that says current sessions. You'll see both of them there. If you have questions about, is this right for me? Do I really want to do this? What I have? Just email me. I'm happy to talk you through it. I offer a free 15-minute consultation to see if it's right for you. So baskergardens.com, the code GROW until December 1st for $50 off. Okay, today's guest. I am talking to Allison Taylor. She is one of the co-founders with her sisters of the brand Prunier. It is an incredible skincare brand that is rooted in plums. And working with skincare brands, I've seen doing research and I've seen a lot of brands will use like a signature ingredient. It might be kind of a gimmick, but fruit production have been in Allison's family since 1950. Her and her sisters took all the knowledge they learned from watching her family's long history of fruit growing, especially plums, and learning how to use the byproduct of plums for the skincare line and launching it in 2018. I wish I was a sister that grew up on this plum farm because it's just pretty magical. Allison has worked for brands like Giorgio Armani, Mother Denim, and STX Entertainment. And when you look at the brand she's created, very clearly has an amazing eye for design. I love talking with her about starting this brand and just being really open about what it takes to start a company like this. And then her inside thing. It's perfection. All right, let's hear from Allison. But first, let's hear all about this week's sponsor, Semaine. Oh my gosh, which is actually another brand founded by sisters. Okay, talk to you on the other side. This episode is brought to you by Semaine. Semaine originally got me hooked with their PMS and period care. It was really what I needed each month to take my symptoms down a notch and have a little buddy who cared. Since that first product, Semaine has a whole product line dedicated to helping women restore their health at the root and manage the symptoms that so many of us feel, but no one sees. We're talking about periods, stress, hormones, and GI and bladder health. And let's not forget perimenopause and menopausal symptoms. As a woman, even if you've never had bad periods or GI or bladder issues, if you have ovaries, you're going to go through perimenopause and menopause, and you might need a little help. Semane's Perimeno Essentials is a multi-system support to help with hot flashes, mood swings, and night sweats, which can help boost your happiness, sleep better, and feel more like you. It was clinically studied to ease 14 measures of menopause within 4 weeks, which is incredible. Semane wants to help women through all stages of their life, stages that have historically been brushed off, pushed aside, and made women feel alone in their struggles. This is a huge reason why I love Semane and trust them, because I can tell you they truly care. And like I said, it started with one product, and fast forward to today, you can find Semane at Walmart, H-E-B Grocery, Amazon, and Thrive Market. And if you want to shop directly from their site, semanehealth.com, get 20% off with code INSIDEOUTSIDE20 for new customers. You can find help with stress, hormones, periods, and perimenopause and menopause. That's semanehealth.com, SEMAINE health.com, to get 20% off your order using code INSIDEOUTSIDE20. I'll make sure to include this in the show notes too. Allison, thank you so much for being here. You know, I'm not going to give it away, but, you know, on this podcast, we do an outside thing and an inside thing. And your inside thing is my dream topic. It covers reality television, politics, and pop culture. So we will get to that. But thank you so much. I gasped this morning when I saw what it was. I was like, oh, I cannot wait. All right. So we kick off every podcast with asking, what is your, and my God, I can't even imagine what your first nature memory is, but what is your first nature memory or a time that nature has impacted you?
Sure. Okay, so I was raised on a fourth generation family farm in Northern California, and my favorite thing to do ever when I was a kid was to go over to the ranch and ride horses with my grandfather, who taught me how to ride Western. So we would saddle up in the morning, like we would have breakfast together, and then he would teach me how to saddle the horse, and we would just ride for hours through the walnut trees. And it's just like, if you've ever rode a horse, you understand, like, it's just the most free feeling in the world. And then to do it in nature in that sort of setting. It's truly, that was like my favorite memory of my childhood ever. So.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that because, you know, I think, you know, I'm a horticultural therapist, and equine therapy really goes really hand in hand with horticultural therapy. But I think it's something where with equine therapy, you know, you were getting it equine therapy, you know, through your grandpa, but, you know, there isn't a lot of access to it unless you have, let's say, like a disability or mental health challenges. And I wish that there was more equine therapy available for everyone, because like you said, I mean, it's such a powerful tool, especially because you get to do it in nature too.
Yeah, I just returned from Santa Barbara, and someone mentioned to me the name of a woman who her whole thing is equine therapy, and I felt really called to it. I was like, I've rode horses my entire life, but I've never actually gone through the process of sitting next to one, and like that whole experience, from more of a therapeutic perspective. So I don't know, at some point I'd like to try it because it just sounds fascinating, and they're such magical animals. So I fully believe it.
So when's the last time you rode a horse?
Oh, probably, oh gosh, let me think. It was probably around like 6 months or so ago. I mean, my goal in life is to just ride more horses, but I live in New York, so that's hard. But no, I don't know. Where there's a will, there's a way. But yeah, no. To your point, I think that like I don't even really think that equine therapy has to be applied to someone. Of course, there's obviously people that really, really need it for a multitude of reasons. But just even if you don't feel like you're struggling with mental health, like just to know yourself better, I feel like horses are really intuitive, and that's the whole thing, right? They can kind of bring things out of you that you weren't even aware of. So I'm fascinated by it.
So wait, go back real quick. So you want to move to New York?
No, we live in New York right now.
I thought you were in California.
The farm is in California, but
Oh,
yeah, my now husband, we just got married in September. He's an East Coaster, so we are in New York City in Tribeca.
how do you feel about that shift being a Cali girl in New York?
You know, I'm really actually quite pleasantly surprised. I lived in New York right after college for a period of time, and that was a totally different experience, right? But being here now with the business kind of fully fledged and my relationship, it's such a, obviously very productive, exciting kind of place to be. But no, I was hesitant at first, and I really, really like it. Like I'm having a great time.
Yeah, because I'm just curious, growing up where you did on having
Mhm.
access to that farm and so much of your business being centered in nature,
Yeah.
how do you continue to tap into nature in New York?
I will say we travel a fair amount. So I do try to make it back to California. Maybe not every month or every other month, but like, there's definitely sporadic trips. And then even, being on the East Coast, like we've been doing a lot of upstate New York, just kind of road trips and checking things out. So I'm learning a lot about the East Coast, which is fun. Like I think moving to New York was also kind of a lesson to me in not being so tightly attached to the idea of what I think my life needs to look like. Like, I was very attached to California. Um, and yeah, I actually think like the shift and the change it's good for your routine. It's definitely, I don't foresee myself living in New York forever, but it's awesome right now.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, in this podcast, also, every single episode, I bring you some type of research, study, article, or just kind of interesting find about nature. And I try to
Mhm.
do my best to connect it to the guest. So today, I am bringing you, have you ever heard of the Orchard Project?
I don't believe so. Tell me.
Okay. So this is, I mean, listen, this is like a gift to do this podcast because I just get to research and find cool stuff to tell people about. So I didn't know about it either until this week. But
Okay.
it's this really cool project in the UK. And what they do is I'll just read it's the only national charity dedicated to solely creating and maintaining community orchards because they believe that creating these fruit and nut orchards not only help with climate change, not only help with communities, but it also gives people food and it just makes like a huge impact in these communities to have these orchards. And, after reading this, I was kind of looking more into what qualifies as an orchard. And the consistent thread I found was like 5 of something kind of counts as an orchard. So it's a really fascinating approach because I think you see a lot about community gardens, you see a lot about, doing things with schools, but this concept of creating orchards in these communities, it's so freaking cool and powerful. It's like you could do an olive one, an orange one. I mean, depending on where you live, a pecan one. So I just wanted to, you kind of grew up with orchards in your life, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and that's funny. That story kind of brings me back to middle school because, we had this teacher. He was so awesome. His name was Mr. Diagostini. And we had a beautiful greenhouse on this, it was a public school in the area. And I think I attended it from like fifth to eighth grade. Before that, I was at a Catholic school. But this public school was so cool because it had this greenhouse. And every Friday, we would have like salad bar day where you would
Mm.
bring your favorite salad dressing from home. And then you would go to the garden and pick everything that you've grown. I remember my favorite thing was grabbing like the edible flowers and eating those. Like, oh, I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, that was such a fundamental, amazing experience because now when I go to make salads, like if I put sprouts in there, it takes me back to eighth grade. Like, it's a kind
Yeah,
of nostalgic thing.
totally. And I think, with a lot of those things, like you might have been introduced to something for the first time. And those programs are such a huge component in food literacy and teaching. That's so cool. I want to start a salad bar greenhouse.
I know. Honestly, good on that guy. It was awesome. I really one of my fondest memories from middle school. I am so grateful. I don't think my sisters and I, quite realized how fortunate we were at the time to have been raised like with such close proximity to a farm and orchards in our backyard. Like we had orchards for miles, and we would just, pick the fruit and ride horses and grab walnuts off of the ground. And there was just such exposure to real nutritious food, in that way of life, that I really hope that, the city kids get to see that. They've got to get out of the city, check it out.
I know when I was looking at your website today, there's some photos of sort of like the timeline of your business. And there was a photo of you all at sort of like a farm stand. And I was like, oh, like that's so magical. Yet also as a kid, you're like, God, I have this dream of creating a book called Kids Annoyed at the Plant Store because it's just like, because every time I go to a plant store or the farmer's market, there's some kid that's just like so pissed off that he has to be there.
Oh my God, that's really funny. So true. Yeah, just kids doing errands in general. Half the time I was like, Mom, leave me in the car. You can go shop and I'll just play on my phone or read a book or something.
I think, I want to shift a little bit into your actual business, because I mean, I think what you're doing is just so, I'll have to say, and I told your publicist, I get a lot of pitches for like care companies and things, but what you're doing is so unique and so cool that I was so excited to talk to you about Plums.
Thank you.
So, if someone's never heard of your brand before, tell a little bit about how you're making this with the byproduct and like how this even started.
For sure. Well, thank you. That was all. I'm excited to talk to you about it too. So my sisters and I, as you know, were raised on a family farm in Northern California. And over the years, it's definitely evolved. It came from very humble beginnings. And then my father in the 80s really had the foresight to remove most of the crops that we were growing and plant organic dried plums. So my sisters and I grew up, we would work farmers markets. We would work during harvest. We then started going on business trips with him to Asia and Europe. And it really was when we were in Asia that we recognized how highly regarded the dried plum was as a superfruit. Mm-hmm. So cut to 2018, my sisters and I launched Prunier, which is an award-winning innovative skincare line based on the power of plum. And so what we started doing, this was like in 2015, I credit my older sister with the idea to really upcycle the seeds and cold press those to turn it into our plum beauty oil.
Wait, can we back up for a second? So like, let's create this. I like to like create, because I feel like founders have really cool stories of, and then it happened, but you all are like going to Asia. You're seeing, oh my gosh, because I think in the United States, like no one's really talking about dried plums, right? So were you in meetings or you see products there and then you're like, oh shit, maybe we could do this here? Like, how did that even originate?
Yeah. Like we would sit in on these meetings and like, my dad, so 80% of what we grow in the Central Valley is exported overseas. We have a facility in Korea and then there's one in Poland. And so when we would go, we'd meet with these longstanding buyers and just companies like that he had worked with for, 10, 15, 20 years. And so these people have definitely seen us grow up, but it was really, really funny because we would sit in on these meetings kind of like a fly on the wall, really with nothing to offer as teenagers, but we were absorbing. And I'm so grateful for our father. Of course, at the time we were like, oh, these are just fun trips and like we get to see what dad's doing. But it was so formative and foundational for us to see like A, how to conduct yourself in a meeting, B, we understood kind of their perspective on the dried plum. They were talking about it more as like a beauty food with benefits far beyond digestion. So if you're using the extract on your yogurt and you're drinking the juice, because it does, of course, help your digestion. But as we know, beauty is like a very holistic thing. If your digestion is in a good spot, your skin's going to feel good, your body's going to feel great, you're going to radiate, So the way that they were thinking about the dried plum and the prune was just so different than what we think of it as here in the United States. And that's, it took a long time. Like we were teenagers at that period. And then my sister struggled with acne and she wanted to become a dermatologist. So she went to UCLA. She was pre-med. She kind of shifted gears a little bit, and she ended up as a psychology biology major, but she never became a dermatologist, but that passion really stuck with her. And so, yeah, my career was more so like in branding, marketing. I worked with some incredible founders and creative directors. And so when it was like we had been talking about what can we do, I feel like something is right under our nose. Like, how can we come together and work together on something that we feel very passionately about? And then, yeah, the idea, it just kind of like, it was like an aha moment. We really combined all of our strengths. And fortunately, my sisters and I are really good at different things. My younger sister, she worked at some amazing startups, and she also worked on the family farm right after college with my dad. So, she has pretty great experience in terms of the farming. And so, yeah, Jackie, the older sibling, she manages R&D and formulation. I'm doing more of like the creative kind of storytelling, and then I focus on our D2C business. And then my younger sister, she does a little bit more on like the operations, finance side of things. So, yeah, wow. It's crazy. It's like the seed was planted a long time ago, so to speak.
Yeah. So many metaphors and plants.
Right.
So let me ask you this: why California plums? Right? Because I mean, I think Asia, if they're loving them so much, I would think that some parts have a climate to grow them there. So what is making this California plum that you were able to dry and sell to them? It sounds like a huge bulk of your family's business. Like, why California plums?
I mean, California is just such an amazing, environment for farming in general. You have like a Mediterranean climate. You have really, really rich alluvial soil. And it's just like, you get these really warm temperatures. It's just a beautiful place to grow fruit. I feel like it's one of the largest kind of drivers of the economy is farming. And, I'm not really sure if they're doing many. I don't know if you can actually grow dried plums in Asia. I know that there's some, you'll find some in like south of France and then in Chile. But yeah, the California plum is just kind of, it's above and beyond. It's just sweet. It tastes delicious. And I know I'm biased, but I really do think it's like.
No, I mean, listen, I love peaches and plums, right? But I definitely, before being introduced to your brand, like I never really thought about plums in that way. I think it's fascinating. And because I think we think a lot about like, vitamin C you think about how berries have so many antioxidants and all this, but like plums are just, even after launching your brand, I feel like you all are really one of the only ones are doing the plum thing.
Yeah, one of the things that we learned through just our research is that the dried plum has more antioxidants than kale, blueberries, and spinach. And when I say dried plum, like the prune industry or the prune board, actually there was a shift in the 80s and they moved away from saying prunes to dried plums. But we can kind of use it interchangeably. Actually, I think recently they kind of went back to saying prune. So not to confuse anyone, but yeah, when you dry a plum, there's something that happens in that process where the sorbitol, which is what gives it kind of that laxative effect, that increases. So, and as well as the antioxidants. So the dried plum is just such a powerful, incredible fruit for you. And that's
because that's the thing that I think when you're talking about the prune and the plum, like when you use those two words, prune to me, I'm like, I'm constipated. I need to, you know what I mean? Eat a bunch. I mean, I think that's just like historically what you think of when you say dried prunes, but when you say the word dried plums, it definitely seems more exotic, high end, like not constipation.
Right.
So it's like, it's an interesting thing. It's almost probably better for the markets to position it if that's what people are used to using it for, because it might feel like out of reach if it's like a dried plum.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, we definitely like, I love a fresh plum, but there's something about the dried plums and the prunes that are just they're so antioxidant rich. And that's why when, we finally approached our dad, and asked him, why are you throwing away the pits of this fruit? Because obviously if the flesh of the fruit is this antioxidant rich, the seed is going to be even more so. And so, yeah, that took some convincing for him to allow us to just buy the seeds from him.
Mm-hmm.
I think he thought we were insane, but yeah.
Yeah, and I'm curious about that too. I am consulting right now for 2 different skincare brands, and
Mm-hmm.
I think how do I phrase this? I wonder, when you were first starting this, were you like, okay, well, just give us 100 pits and we'll see if this works? Like, how did you know, like, in the beginning how to scale this? Or you
Mm-hmm.
just sort of like, let's take these and like, we'll make a couple bottles of serums and see what works, because you probably had no idea if this is going to work or not.
No, we definitely did not know if it was going to work, but I do remember my sister and my dad sat at the kitchen counter and counted 250 kernels in one bottle of oil. We had a small press on the family farm. I mean, it was nothing special by any means, and we've definitely like reinvested into the machinery, and now it's much more substantial. But those early days, we were just kind of like, it was experimentation in a sense. And my older sister was paying for the testing out of her own, pocket, working a few jobs. And she just really was like, yeah, she just was very, I really do credit her with kind of coming up with the idea for the oil. And then once she received all of the science and the research, which took a couple years to kind of, finalize and position, then she approached me and shared that. And I think the initial idea, she was like, maybe we sell this as an ingredient to L'Oreal or Estee Lauder, one of the big, conglomerates, and we can
Mm-hmm.
position it as this like amazing ingredient. And again, my background's more branding and marketing. So I was like, I think I had always wanted to have my own like line. I don't necessarily know that any of us thought we would be doing skincare, but it just made perfect sense. And I remember saying to her, like, I will do this with you and we'll be full on, but we need to start a brand because there's such a larger opportunity to tell the story of the heritage and of the farm.
Mm-hmm.
And, to your point, like skincare is such a saturated market. There are so many brands. And how do you distinguish that North Star? Like, we're really lucky. We've had the farm for such a long time. We grew up, focused on organic farming practices and sustainability. Like that's innate in kind of our upbringing. So yeah, I feel like it was really, really natural for us to launch the brand and to understand our story and our positioning. It's because it's our heart and soul.
Yeah. And I think it's so important for people to hear and understand that you're sitting at the table counting kernels, because I think you see this beautiful finished product. And, when I've been working for some of these brands doing I put together like pretty extensive research decks for them. And it's like seeing like, oh, like Drunk Elephant sold for like $20 million and this brand got a $19 million investment. And it's like, but a lot of these brands started with one product at their kitchen table, but we're seeing them in Sephora or Cat Beauty or all these places. And it's like, no, a lot of these people started at a kitchen table with kernels, it's like,
No, my sisters and I, like, we're still self-funded. In early days, we took a loan out. And then when we had a viral moment with Chrissy Teigen, we can go into that later, but that allowed us to, we were profitable and we were able to, pay off the loan and start to pay ourselves and all the things. It was really, really wonderful. But up until that point, like, it was us filling orders. I think we just moved to a 3PL, like right before that whole thing happened. It was really like filling orders and doing the customer service ourselves. And like you wear every single hat within that business. And it's a good thing because you understand it completely. But yeah, it's hard work. And it's sometimes I look at other brands that raise a bunch of money and I'm like, oh, that would be, so nice to have a little bit more flexibility in what you could do. But at the same time, we've been able to grow so, so sustainably and just like carefully and not deter. Like we haven't strayed from our vision whatsoever. And I think with VC funding or just investors in general, you can kind of feel the additional pressure. And I'm really glad we have not had that. We've been able to take it slow and kind of, grow the way we need to.
Yeah. Okay. It's supposed to be 45 minutes and I always go over some to try to
Oh,
stay
sorry.
tight. No, no, this is my problem because I have more questions for you. So I just have one more
Okay.
question
Yeah,
because
of course.
I'm so curious about this stuff. I want to be
Yeah.
respectful of your time. Um,
Okay.
so with that viral moment with Chrissy Teigen, and I mean, let me ask the question and then you can kind of explain that moment. But I think with everything that's going on today with the insanity of TikTok, Substack, we're all trying to be seen right now, right? And it's really hard to break through the noise. And
Yeah.
I'm wondering if would that Chrissy Teigen moment be possible in 2020? I don't know anymore. It's like it's very hard to go viral if it's not just some dumb shitty meme or something. Like it's hard to go viral, I think, now for products that mean something and have longevity versus like a Labubu.
I know.
I
I've
know
heard of.
we don't know the answer, but I'm curious how you look at that and, how you're thinking about marketing and positioning, because I think it's really hard to have those moments still.
It is. That's a very poignant question. That's funny you asked that. But yeah, no, I feel like we talk about that a lot. And the Chrissy thing was such an unexpected, just kind of like lightning strike that just you couldn't have planned for. It was all of the right things all at once. And I don't want to say we got lucky because it was many years of hard work and positioning ourselves and, you know, but to recreate that today, I don't know. I haven't seen another. I've seen some brands that kind of get the right mention and they have some kind of buzz that comes from that. But I really think that was
Because
it.
what year was
I
that
don't
that
know.
she shared about it? What year was that?
That was November 2020.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's
so,
coming
I
up.
mean, it just because well, or anybody that knows listens to this podcast, I went off social media to launch my new brand, which mistake or good thing, I'm not sure, but it's just even if you're on social, I don't know, lately it just feels like this feeling of sometimes being stuck in the mud. When I'm working with brands, it's how do we like push past? I don't know if you can right now. I think you just have to like maybe
Yeah.
do more in-person things, maybe connect more on podcasts like you're doing, like doing things in a different way because it's really hard right now.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say I have like a very love-hate relationship with social media. I think my sisters are so funny. They're like not on it at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I have to just have my eyes and ears, you know, I have to open it and then I feel like there's so much pressure on the founders to actually be content creators and like that's not I don't want to put my entire life on the internet, but I also have friends that are incredibly talented at it and I see what that does for their business and I'm like honestly hats off, good job. So I think that there's a balance for founders, and I feel like maybe it's not sharing so much of my personal life but just being more active on Le Prunier's page and doing more get ready with me's and putting yourself out there. But yeah, it's an interesting landscape. I think we're all
Yeah.
trying to cut through the
A
noise.
couple of a couple of years ago, I interviewed the founder of Brightland, the olive oil
Yeah,
company, and she was saying how for founders, it's like unpaid labor to share your whole life. And
right,
she reflected sort of what you had just said that you don't really see men founders having to do that unless they're like bro, like culture where it's butter in their coffee or something. It's like you as women, it's show your home, show your kids, show and
yeah,
it's like you don't, as men founders are not expected to do that. And so as a founder, you're doing this, technically it's marketing, right? But it is like it's like
right.
unpaid labor that you're having to put yourself out there when you really just want to share the product.
Right. I know. There's something though about like resonating with brands and the founders behind it, and you hear their story, and then you learn about them as an individual, and it's like, of course, I want to buy from Brightland because she seems, really sweet and knowledgeable, and yeah, I get why there's the pressure to do it, but I feel aligned with her. I'd rather not.
Okay, so last question before we go inside. Can you please make a cleanser? Are you going to make a cleanser?
I will just say stay tuned. We have something very exciting coming next year.
Okay. Because I think what's so cool about your brand is I see brands where they're like, this is an all-in-one system. And then they have like 5 cleansers, 10
Mhm.
moisturizers. And I'm like, this is not, you just gave me 100 options. And what I
Right.
love so much about your brand is it is really tight. You've got your plum screen, you've got a moisturizer, you've got your serum. But I'll have to say, I want a cleanser.
Mhm.
So, and if that cleanser could smell a little bit like the serum, I'd also be really happy. Okay, so now, last, we're going to move inside. Every single episode, I have people share something, an inside obsession. The
Yeah.
categories are TV, book, or movie, internet gossip you must discuss. I forget what the other. Okay, wild card. What are
Mhm.
you bringing us today?
I am totally enthralled with Spencer Pratt's Palisades fire coverage for
Okay.
many reasons.
Okay. Let's name your top 3 reasons why you're enthralled, because I have like it's fascinating.
Yeah. Well, I also, okay, so I think it's like pretty impressive MVPs go Spencer Pratt because he was just a, not just, but he was a reality TV star that kind of, I feel like he did like a total 180 and has now become this like very motivational kind of, just uncovering the corruption and like the mess of the management of Los Angeles. And so before moving to New York, we were moving into a home in LA and then the fire broke out and it was just this, we didn't lose the house, but I'm fourth generation Californian. I've lived in Los Angeles for almost 15, 20 years. So I was devastated to see that city go through what it went through. And I just think so much of it could have been prevented. And I
Mm-hmm.
won't, I'm going to go on a tangent, but that's kind of, I'm fascinated by how much he's, taken on and how much he's discovered.
Yeah, I had read the New York Times article about him a couple weeks ago. It came out, and I'll have to say, first thing I think of when I think of Spencer Pratt is opportunist, right? It's like,
Right.
whether he's promoting his wife or his crystals, which I'm always like, do
Right.
you believe in crystals or are you a snake oil salesman? I'm not sure. But I am not on TikTok, but after you sent your inside thing, I'm like, you can look at TikTok on my desktop. And I'm not kidding you. I spent probably 45 minutes today watching Spencer Pratt talk about what he's doing with the Palisade
Right.
fires. And, you know, I really went into it thinking you're kind of a shitty dude and opportunist. Like, I mean,
I
he's historically
agree.
not really been a nice guy. Okay. He's kind of been an abrasive person. I've watched reality shows with him, but it's it's interesting because, he seems a little MAGA coded in some ways, but then
Yeah.
I'm also like, I I don't even know if this is right or left. I just truly feel like he wants people to get some money, to get some answers. And,
Yeah.
geniusly marketed, he does his podcast in front of his burnt down home.
Well, exactly. Yeah. He's using his platform to bring, kind of just, he's exposing, and he's using his platform for a really good reason. And I don't think that any of us expected that from Spencer
Yeah.
Pratt. I think that's what's so kind of eye opening and illuminating. Like,
Like he's
yeah.
going to Washington and like trying to get bills. Yeah, it was interesting that you brought this. He has a book. I don't know if it's out yet or it's coming out, but it's called The Man You Love to Hate. I hope that you're actually authentically trying to help people. And I think he
Yeah.
is.
Oh, I definitely think he is. I mean, I feel like there's, you know, gosh, so I lived in LA for such a long time. Like I know, guys that are friends with him and just like families there that have been so impacted. And he's really like doing this from a very altruistic place where he's like, this has ruined so many lives outside of mine. And what can I do to, help stand up for them and help raise awareness around this? And it's gut wrenching to watch as like a Los Angeles resident but then there's also, it's yeah, it's inspiring to see him kind of flip around. That's why I'm like, you're MVP, you're most improved. I'm really like,
Yes, totally.
that's Oscar.
Yeah, and I think, and I think what's interesting about that is I do think that in a different political climate where our current administration wasn't going after California so much and Newsom and all this stuff, like, I think it might be viewed in a different lens. We might be like, oh, go Spencer Pratt. But I think the tension is there because there's so much tension in the United States between the administration and California. So I think he gets kind of lost in the sauce, MAGA, when I'm not even sure if that's what he's doing.
I
think he's just
doing, honestly. I think he's like, this was my home, and it's painful to watch. What's happened. So
when I started this podcast, I never thought we'd be talking about Spencer Pratt, and I love that you brought this today. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. I mean, for anyone I never followed him before, but now I'm just like, oh, this is just too good. So
do you watch reality TV at all?
No, honestly, I don't. So I watched The Hills growing up a little bit, and he was kind of a butt on The Hills. So yeah.
A butt. That's such a nice way of saying it. What is your media diet? Like, what kind of shows do you watch?
I don't honestly watch a ton of TV. I love podcasts. I listen to podcasts whenever I'm running around the city or, oh goodness.
Okay. Yeah. Drop some, what are some of your favorite podcasts?
I love how I built this with Guy Raz.
Oh yeah.
I get super inspired listening to those.
I know. I love it when Guy has on businesses that also have failed big too. Like I just feel like I learn more from that because, we talked at the beginning of this podcast. I feel like so many times founder stories are, and then we launched our first serum, and it's just like, no, there's like so much that went behind that. And I think he does a good job sort of dissecting it.
Yeah, he really tells the full story. He gets into all the details for sure.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the pod. I will anxiously await coming soon to be whatever's happening with your brand. Mm-hmm. And if people want to find you, where should they go?
At La Prunier is our Instagram. My Instagram is at Allison Tay. And thank you guys so much thank you for having me on.
And then wait, one more question before you go. I feel like a lot of times people want to know, like, where's the best way to support you? Is it shopping directly from your website? Are there any new places where you all are showing up that you want to support?
We always welcome customers to the website, which is leprunier.com. We really try to engage with our customers there and have built a great community of people. So yeah, you can find us at leprunier.com.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's today's show. If you like this episode or any of the Inside and Outside episodes, please leave a review. You might not think it helps, but it really does. It helps you get into the little algorithm better and also lets advertisers know that you enjoy this show. All right, on Apple, here's how you do it. Go to the homepage, scroll all the way down to the end of the episodes, and you'll see something that says rating and reviews. Hit that 5 stars, write something. Just say love it if you want to. On Spotify, go to the homepage of the show. You'll see a little tiny gear icon. It'll have a drop down that says rate this show, leave 5 stars. There you can't even write anything. And that's it. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much for listening to the show, and I'll talk to you next week.